Sometimes the person we think is the victim turns out to be something else entirely. This is a story about a family torn apart by divorce, and a man who couldn't stay silent when he saw injustice. Anne was 39 years old with a high-profile job at an international company. Her career demanded constant travel, sometimes for weeks at a time. Her husband Barry was 40 and worked from home. This arrangement allowed him to care for their 3 children. Emma was 12, Noah was 9, and Olivia was 6. The couple had been married for 15 years. Anne's substantial salary paid for housekeepers and yard care. These services helped ease Barry's burden when Anne traveled. From the outside, their arrangement seemed perfectly balanced. Barry managed the household while Anne advanced her career. Barry attended all the school events and doctor's appointments. He handled the academy pickups and bedtime routines. Anne only played the mother role during her brief days at home each month, but Anne was the primary breadwinner, and that was their agreement. Last fall, Anne filed for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences. No specific reasons were given to the family. Barry was blindsided by the decision. The extended family was equally shocked. After months of contentious legal proceedings, a settlement was reached. Last month, the family gathered for dinner. That evening, Anne revealed the details of her divorce settlement. She had been granted full custody of all 3 children. Barry would only see his kids every other weekend, 2 days a month from Saturday morning to Sunday evening. But the financial terms were even more surprising. Barry would pay Anne monthly child support. He would also pay alimony for 2 years. The revelation left everyone at the table stunned into silence. Anne earned more than 3 times Barry's salary. She had been absent from home for most of their marriage. Barry had performed virtually all of the day-to-day parenting. Every parent-teacher conference, every emergency room visit, every sleepless night had been his responsibility. Anne's brother-in-law couldn't contain his reaction. He questioned how such an arrangement could be considered fair. His wife immediately tried to stop him, but he continued. Anne defended the settlement, explaining that the court had made the decision. Legally, Barry wasn't considered the primary earner. The brother-in-law pointed out that Anne wasn't the primary caregiver either. Anne insisted her income had supported the entire family. The brother-in-law argued that Barry had been the primary caregiver. Barry had sacrificed his career advancement to raise Anne's children. Anne became defensive, claiming her career had required sacrifices too. She asked if anyone understood how difficult it was to be away for weeks. But the brother-in-law pressed on despite his wife's signals to stop. He reminded everyone that Barry had given up promotions to work from home. Barry had cared for sick children even during important work meetings. He had stayed up countless nights checking Emma's fever and helping Noah with homework. When Olivia took her first steps, Anne had been in Singapore on business. Throughout this exchange, Barry remained silent, staring at his plate. The brother-in-law declared that if this was the outcome, the system was fundamentally broken. Anne shot back that he knew nothing about divorce law. The courts considered what was best for children, particularly economic stability. He responded with bitter laughter. He questioned whether economic stability mattered more than emotional bonds. Should children only see their father 2 days a week? Especially a father who had dedicated 15 years to raising them. The room fell into uncomfortable silence. The mother-in-law looked confused and distressed. The father-in-law sat rigid, lips pressed tightly together. Barry still couldn't lift his head from his plate. He looked completely exhausted and defeated. Anne trembled with anger at the confrontation. She accused her brother-in-law of deliberately ruining the family gathering. His wife stood abruptly, apologizing to her mother. She pulled her husband out of the house immediately. In their car, his wife erupted in anger. She accused him of humiliating her in front of her entire family. She said he had no idea how difficult this time was for her sister. He insisted that someone needed to speak the truth. The situation was clearly unjust. His wife began crying, accusing him of making everything about gender politics. She said he was reducing a complex situation to simple black and white terms. The couple didn't speak for 3 days following the incident. But one question kept haunting the brother-in-law's thoughts. What if the genders had been reversed? Imagine a high-earning husband who was barely home receiving full custody. Imagine a stay-at-home wife being forced to pay him child support and alimony. Public outrage would have been immediate and fierce. The media coverage would have been relentless. But because Anne was a woman, the arrangement seemed acceptable to everyone. People justified it by saying she had earned the money. They accepted it because the court had made the decision. Barry had voluntarily sacrificed career advancement. He had chosen to prioritize being a good father. Now he was being punished for that very choice. He would barely see his children while paying financial support. Emma, Noah, and Olivia, the children he had raised for 15 years. His wife maintained that he was oversimplifying a complex situation. Divorce proceedings were complicated, and they couldn't know every detail. Perhaps she had a point. But what he had witnessed seemed abundantly clear. Anne hadn't appeared embarrassed or apologetic about the arrangement. Instead, she had seemed entitled to everything, as if her larger paycheck justified taking everything from Barry. Meanwhile, Barry sat broken and defeated. His entire daily routine had revolved around caring for his children. Now, his house would stand empty most of the time. Children's laughter would only fill it every other weekend. The brother-in-law continued to wrestle with doubt. Had he been wrong to speak up that night? Should he have remained silent at the family dinner? Or does someone have a responsibility to call out injustice when they see it? When the system fails people, is silence really the appropriate response? Days later, Barry sent him a brief text message. It simply said thank you, but insisted that everything was okay. He claimed it had been his choice, but had it really been Barry's choice? Why should choosing to be a dedicated parent result in punishment? The questions remained unanswered. The family remained divided, and the silence between husband and wife continued. Who was truly in the wrong?